Hey guys, this is Coach Bill with Fat Loss Made Easy. Hope you guys are having a great, what is today? Today is Friday, I think. Anyway, hope you guys are having a great day so far. Today's topic is, it's mostly for those of you that may understand what blood glucose levels are and what ketone levels are. And when you're looking to lose that fat weight or body fat, whatever you want to call it, you're actually doing it right by monitoring your blood glucose levels and your ketone levels, and you're documenting them, especially when you're first starting out. Probably the first 90 days, if you want to be successful in reaching your goals, you need to do that. But also, you're not only documenting or monitoring your blood glucose levels or your ketone levels, you're also following a high good dietary fat, low carb meals, and you're incorporating that with intermittent fasting. And so, what brought about this topic? Well, I not only am I seeing the question on a lot of the social media group sites, intermittent fasting, keto diet groups, even type 2 diabetic groups, so forth. And now with one of my superior clients, or one of my clients who just finished up one of my 90-day courses, and she was phenomenal. She did everything. She followed all the training books, the training videos. She documented, sent me the information I needed every other day or every week. She was there for the Zoom calls. She did everything right, and she was consistent with everything. What was really cool about this client is she had questions that we could take care of before any issues started up. But the topic of this video today is, oh no, my ketone levels have dropped. And that can kind of be deceiving because there's two reasons why that possibly could happen. The first reason is, especially if you're just starting out and your meal plans just is not set up right for you, and it's actually thrown you out of ketosis, which is fat burning. See, that's why you have to monitor your blood glucose levels along with your blood ketone levels, because that's how you're going to know if you're actually in fat burning. And that's how you're going to know if the meals you're eating is actually putting you into fat burning. You guys heard me talk about this 100 times, okay? So, but the second reason why your ketones can drop is probably the best reason, and it should be your goal long term. When you've been on a high good dietary fat meal plan, and you're incorporating it with intermittent fasting, and you're religiously monitoring your blood glucose levels and ketone levels, when first starting out, your glucose levels are going to be probably a little high and your ketone levels are going to be low. But as you stay into the course, and as you stay consistent doing it, then your blood glucose levels should start dropping down to, consistently you want to be around 84 or less, 78, 74. And then your ketone levels, a lot of people when they're first starting out and they're actually in fat burning will go to 1.8, 2.3, 3.0. And that's because the higher the number, it's the more ketones that are actually in your blood. Okay? So when you're first starting out, your body really does not understand ketones yet at the cellular level. Your trillion plus cells aren't sure what those ketones are because you haven't been producing them most of your life. Most of your meals were multiple carbohydrate meals throughout the day. So you never really got into burning or producing ketones at all. Ketones are produced from fat. Not only from the fat from your food you eat, but also from your own stored body fat. And that's why we always incorporate intermittent fasting with our high good dietary low carb meals. Because when you're fasting, you're actually dipping into your own stored fats. And that's where the ketones are coming from. And so with this particular client, I'll give you an idea. When we first started out, the first couple of weeks, once she got into more fat adaptation, once we depleted most of the carbs out of her body, well, what happened was her glucose levels were around 78, and her ketones were all the way up to 2.5 up to 3.0. And because she was so consistent with her meal plans, with her high good dietary fats, that she stayed pretty consistent in those levels, which is really good. That's just telling us that her body is getting more acclimated to burning fat. Well, then about 3-4 weeks of being on a high good dietary fat meal plan, it was time for her, because she did stay consistent, so it was time to incorporate intermittent fasting. So you don't at the first 2 or 3 weeks of your journey to lose that fat weight, you really don't want to jump into intermittent fasting right away. You want to start off by changing your meals to more higher fat, just so your body understands how to burn fat. Sometimes people will jump into doing too long a fast, and their blood sugars are going to drop, and they're going to go down like a rock, because the body doesn't know what the heck you're doing, and it doesn't know how to go into your own stored fat where all that food is yet. You have to build up to it slowly. Well, it was time for her to jump into intermittent fasting, so we did. Then, for about 30 to 35, 40 days, her glucose numbers started to drop more on the fasting days. So on the fasting days, she would fast for 16 hours or 18 hours, and her readings would be around 62 to 64 on her glucose, and then her ketones would be all the way up to 2.8, 3.0 still. Well, what's that telling me? Well, that's telling me that her body is not actually utilizing all the blood ketones in the blood that are in the blood at the cellular level, because it's not recognizing it yet. And so that's why the numbers are staying higher. Well, then about 45 or 60 days into the course, all of a sudden her blood glucose readings were starting to get lower. So you could probably guess what's happening at this point, right? Her cells at the cellular level are now recognizing ketones as the best source of energy to distribute throughout the body. And then the brain itself, see, ketones is what they call brain food by science. Science is saying that's brain food. So now that's why people can actually, they feel like they're getting more clarity in the brain, is because of the ketones. So, well, what's happening is here, I'm watching this, and she kind of knows what's going on, but people are so focused on these ketones that they don't quite understand that you don't always want those high numbers, especially if you've been on them for 45 or 60 or 70 days. You want those ketone numbers to start to drop. That's what you want, because that's telling us that you're getting more ketone adapted. See, when somebody purchases one of my courses or packages, they get books. They get training books and training videos. And in one of the training books is ketones, the advantage of ketones, and it explains all this. Even though we read these books, we still are so focused on the higher ketones, that along the way, when you've been so consistent and it's about 90 days into it, and all of a sudden your ketones go from 2.8, 3.0, and they drop down to 1.8, people panic, not realizing that they should be smiling, because that's telling me and us that all those trillion plus cells in your body is now utilizing most of the ketones that your liver is producing and dumping into the blood. And that's where the magic starts. The magic starts right when your cells realize that the best source of energy are those ketones, and is now starting to grab for them. And as you keep going through the program, your ketone levels are going to keep dropping. But this is what's cool. This is how cool the body is. Remember I said that during her fasting days, her glucose would get all the way down to 62, 63? Well, the body is not yet regulating the glucose. That's why it drops down that low. Now, it's not going to, that's not a bad thing. Some doctors might look at that and say, oh my gosh, and they'll panic because they don't understand how the body works. Your body's never going to let you drop down too low a glucose. You got plenty of glycogen stored up in your muscles and other organs, that if your blood sugar drops too low, the body is going to go after the glycogen, convert it to glucose, and then raise your glucose back up. But because of her meal plan and her being so consistent, her blood sugars is fluctuating around 74 and 76. So I decided to have her do a 37-hour fast because I wanted to see if she was truly fat adapted and ketone adapted. So she did a 36-hour fast, which was a true fast. And she sent me her readings today, and I caught her. She kind of had a little panic about why were my ketones only at 1.1 and my glucose was at 74. And I told her, I says, boy, I'll tell you what, those are absolutely perfect numbers. I go, you should be jumping up and down and screaming and yelling and be happy, because you have now put your body into one of the most healthiest environments that you could possibly put your body into to help fight diseases and get that immune system boosted up high. By her doing a 36-hour fast, no calories, no food for 36 hours, the only way the body could get more ketones or to keep the glucose at a good level at 74 is how? If you haven't eaten any food for 36 hours, then where are the calories coming from? Where's the food coming from to even produce ketones? That's right. She dipped into her own stored body fat, where there's all kinds of food sitting there, and took that body fat, threw it in the liver, converted it into ketones, which then were taken up by the cells. So more of her cells started utilizing those ketones for energy and to function and to help the body function, especially the brain. Those ketones are very important for the brain. So if you're not eating any food at all for 36 hours, you got to have food for the brain, right? You got to have something, and that's ketones. So the body, because she was fat adapted, meaning her body was efficiently using fats, and then the ketones, because she's ketone adapted, means that the cells, most of her cells at the cellular level, are actually utilizing most of all the blood in the glucose. Now, Emily and I, because we've been doing this for a few years now, our ketone levels even after a 40-hour fast, even after a 72-hour fast, my ketone levels will be all the way down to about a 1.6. My glucose level stays around 78. That's 72 hours without having any foods at all. Now, Emily sometimes her ketones will be a little higher than mine. She'll be in the 1.1, and her glucose will drop down to 64 in a 72-hour fast or a 40-hour fast. But that's telling us that we both are very well into fat adaptation and ketone adaptation. So, the conclusion of this video is don't focus so much on your ketones staying up high all the time, because that's not what you want. You want your ketones 60 to 90 days or longer. If you're doing it right and you're doing the meal plans consistently, and you're incorporating intermittent fasting and a couple of extended fastings throughout the week, then your body will start to efficiently utilize those ketones at the cellular level, and your ketones should start to drop. And what's the byproduct of all this? You're going to lose fat inches. That's the byproduct. Think about this. You haven't eaten any calories for 36 hours, guys. No calories. You're having water. You're having your sea salt because you need to keep your electrolytes at a balance. And you're having just black coffee or green tea. You're not eating any food for 36 hours or 40 hours. I just came off a 40-hour fast. Went into the gym, and I felt stronger than I even felt even on a non-fasting day. It's crazy, because my muscle-building hormones and my growth hormones were jacked up. They were spiked. So that's why I felt so strong, so good. But you want your ketones to start to drop. And like I said, there's some athletes, their ketones, they've been doing this for a long time, and their ketones could even be down to a 0.5. But their glucose levels will stay consistent between 84 and 72, somewhere in that range, even on longer fastings. Because, like I said, you have stored glycogen somewhere in the body, throughout the body, as a reserve. Your brain needs glucose. So if you get down to a dangerous level, your body automatically knows how to solve the issue, and it's going to take that stored glycogen. Now, what if you don't have any glycogen out of there? Well, guess what? It's actually going to take some of your own stored fat cells and turn it into glucose. There's the second safety valve. So you have your first safety valve, stored glycogen in the muscle. If you run out of that, you got a second safety valve, your own stored fat. If you're using your own stored fat, you're losing fat inches. That's a no-brainer, right? So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can go to my YouTube channel, type in Bill Mabry, subscribe to it. I've got all kinds of training videos on there. You can also go to my Fat Loss Made Easy Fat Loss Made Easy Facebook group page, and I have free ebooks in there on mistakes beginners make. I also have quite a few of my fat burning recipes that I like will be in there also. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoy this video. Also, guys, be looking for my new training website. It'll be coming out soon. I will be announcing that. You guys have a great day. Bye.